All right, good afternoon, listeners. My name is Prayer Yabrifa. Welcome you to TrackNews Media. And TrackNews Media is an online television station where we take the latest in news. Of course, we're sorry to come behind schedule. We are supposed to come on before now, but due to some circumstances beyond our control, we couldn't make it. But now that we are here, we promise to give you the very best of all you need to know. Yes, it's a series. We have been talking about the achievements of the Prosperity Administration in the past 3 years and 8 months. And we have somebody in the studio with us that will also shed more lights on the achievements of the Prosperity Administration in the past 3 years. He is a Nigerian champion, an African champion, a world champion, and an Olympic champion. He is no other than the one we call the Abadipere One of Eneware Kingdom. He is a commissioner for youth and sports development in Bayelsa State. Honorable Baralade Daniel Igali. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me on your program today.
Yes, we will be talking about the achievement of the Prosperity Administration in the past 3 years and 8 months now. But before we do that, we just had the judgment of the Supreme Court on Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi's matter coming up. But what do you make of the judgments of the Supreme Court today? Now, the Supreme Court is saying failure to transmit result on IRIV can't be ground for the polls to be cancelled. So they had to throw that out. So, no, that's no basis for we to cancel the election. So the election stands.
The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court has spoken, and that is final. You may agree or disagree with it, but for all intents and purposes, you can't go to anywhere higher than that. So for those who have lost, and of course, we in the PDP were hoping that it would go our way. It didn't. We have another time to battle this out. So let's get back into the trenches and get ready for the next presidential elections.
Okay. All right, let's come to the nitty-gritty of why we are here. Talking about we are highlighting the achievements of the Prosperity Administration. But first, we have to narrow it down to sports. We touch other areas, but let's just narrow it down to sports. In the past 3 years and 8 months, what has been the achievements of the Prosperity government in terms of sports in Bayelsa State?
If I want to talk about all the achievements, it would be in a book. These are just some, not all. So I don't think a 1-hour program will do justice to the achievements of the Prosperity government in sports. Be that as it may, we'll probably only go over the highlights of what I think were probably the highest achievements we had in the area of sports by the Prosperity Administration. Never has Bayelsa had it this good. Bayelsa State has, in the past 3.5 years, become the premier sports state in the country. 2021 started with the National Sports Festival in Edo. Earlier, our best position was 4th position, and that was in 2006 in Ogun State, when His Excellency Senator Doyediri was the commissioner for youth and sports development, Bayelsa State. And so when I came on board as commissioner, one of his direct charge to me was that we should meet or beat his record. of fourth position. And mind you, that was the only time we've been fourth, and we've never been fourth ever before. We went to Edo, and for the first time in the history of Bayelsa State, we came third as a country, as a nation, as a state. As president of the Nigeria Wrestling Federation, I always talk about Nigeria and the nation, so you can forgive me if I start talking about about the nation. But we're talking about Bayelsa now. So for the first time, we came third with 56 gold medals. His Excellency's time, I think we had about 39. I think we had about 39 gold medals to come fourth position, and we were 56 gold medals to come fourth. Now, when you want to rank the achievements of sports in a state, the best place to do that would be in a multi-sports games, because that's not just one sport, it's all the sports put together. So that will give you an aggregate of how well you are doing. It's like you send your children to school, the ultimate achievements will be recorded in their exams. So when they write exams and how well they do in their exams will tell you if they're doing well in school. And so we came fourth, and 2 years later, or the year after, which was last year, we now went back to the Asaba Sports Festival. Mind you, when we were fourth position, when we were third position, Delta was first and Edo was second. Edo beat Bayelsa by 70 gold medals. Wow. First and second position was 70 gold medal difference. So when it was the next year and we were going to the Asaba Sports Festival, and His Excellency now gave a charge again that you either meet or beat your record of third position. I had to tell him, Your Excellency.
You pleaded for leaders.
I said, Your Excellency, the difference between us and Edo last time was 71 gold medals. Now, how do we erase 71 and beat them? But you see, one of the things I really like about His Excellency is not the charges. You know, there are so many people who talk, who give charges, who want the acclaim, but will not back it up. In his case, he tells you, I want to see this result. And he backs it up with funding. So when it came to the next year and we went to Asaba, Bayelsa State came second in the nation.
Wow.
And you know, we did it in style. We won 109 gold medals from 56 gold medals. We won 109 gold medals to beat Edo to third position. And not only that, 26 different sports won gold medals. So that tells you that we are a multi-sport state. We're a state that is doing well across a gamut of sports. That is for the National Sports Festival. If you now come to specifics, of course, football is they say the mother of all sports, though I always say it's wrestling. I always say wrestling is the mother of all sports because in Bayelsa, for us, you want to talk about the king of sports, the traditional sport that we're all inclined to doing at our leisure is wrestling. So, football, in 2021, our female teams, the Bayelsa Queens Football Club and also the Bayelsa United Football Clubs, won the ITO Cup for the first time in the history of Nigeria. Two teams from one state were winning the Federation Cup. Bayelsa United, as a result of that feat, were able to represent the country. We went continental. Of course, we won our first match at home, and then when we went to Sfax in Morocco, or was it Tunisia? In Tunisia, we lost away. That was how we were not able to advance. But for over a decade, Bayelsa United had never achieved that. I mean, the last time that happened was, I think it was 2012 or 20. For sure, it was about over 10 years ago that happened. Bayelsa Queens also won the national championship, so they were female national champions in 2021. And as a result of that, were able to represent Nigeria at the continental level. First, it was the Wafo B zone, and Bayelsa Queens became the first female team from Nigeria to win the Wafo B zone, so become West African champions, and were able to represent Nigeria and the West African sub-region at the continental level, and came third. It's the best record we've had in female football so far. Last year, in fact this year, we narrowly lost out on the national championships. We played against Delta Queens in the finals and lost narrowly by 2-1, but also retained the Confederation Cup.
That is the Federation Cup.
The Federation Cup once again. Back to back, which is not something that is done quite frequently by teams. In fact, for a very long time, no female team has won it back to back. So Bayelsa Queens are currently the ITO Cup the ITO Cup is now
Tingo Cup.
Tingo is now the Tingo Cup, are the Tingo Cup champions once again. And we're hoping that this year we're ready. We got our team ready. We're hoping that this year Bayelsa Queens will once again become national champions and represent Nigeria at the continental level. That is for football.
Okay. Now, before we go over to other ones again, the National Youth Games in Asaba. Before you went for that Youth Games, His Excellency gave a charge. And the Director of Sports, Sir Brave Mawoji, said, definitely Team Bayelsa will make the podium finish.
Yes.
But they went, they saw, they couldn't conquer. They came fourth, so no podium finish. What went wrong?
I don't think anything went wrong. You know, as a state, we pride ourselves in developing youth. That is part of youth development. And I know that His Excellency wants our youth to do extremely well, but we're not going to put that kind of pressure on youth. What you want to do with young, and when we're talking youth games, we're talking kids from the age of 8 to 15. The emphasis on winning is highly discouraged. We want them to have a good experience. We want to properly groom them in the art of training and competing. But at this stage in their careers, at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, we really don't want to put that pressure on young kids that you must win. So, in fact, we're so elated, so happy that we were fourth nationally. We came fourth nationally. In fact, we were third until the very last moment when 2 gold medals came in for Lagos State. That was how we missed the podium. But I must tell you, even when I had a press conference with all the journalists in Asaba, I made a point of letting them know that Bayelsa State was not here to win at all costs. That we were prepared, we had a team that was there, we were participating in over 30 sports, but that would be happy with their performances. This is about athletes giving their best. This is about athletes who were going there not to win at all costs. Luckily, we didn't hear anything about doping. We didn't have any major injuries. All of them came back in good shape. And I want to also use this opportunity to congratulate all of them for going over 25 years of Bayelsa State's existence. It is the foresight of His Excellency, Senator Doidiri, that brought about the State Sports Festival for the first time in our history. This time we had think 14 sports, 12 to 14 sports is what we had this time. The next one, we're hoping to increase it by about 4 or 5 more sports until eventually we're going to get to the level of the National Sports Festival. Now, we discovered quite a number of athletes in the State Sports Festival. In wrestling, both of the girls that won gold medals at the Youth Games were discovered at the State Sports Festival.
Wow. Wow.
We also had a good chunk of young girls in canoeing that we were very hopeful were going to be on the podium. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, canoeing was taken out of the Youth Games, so we're not able to have them. But across a number of sports, in athletics, in taekwondo, in karate, in a lot of sports, the athletes we discovered in the Youth Games, in the State Sports Festival, were the ones that competed here, especially the younger ones. So what we are doing with them is to further ensure that our coaches get them properly groomed. We're looking at the ones that are going to school. In fact, most of the coaches have come to me to say they want them relocated to Yenagoa and some to Aswama, the younger ones to Aswama, so that they can continue with their development. So I can assure you that most of the athletes discovered at the State Sports Festival are being properly monitored, and as time goes on, will be able to make the next step to represent the state.
Now, one sport caught my attention rather, the sport of rugby. You know, there was a time I talked about rugby, and some persons were asking me, what kind of sport is rugby? When did Bayelsa State started playing rugby game? So let's talk about rugby. Bayelsa State playing rugby. I mean, I was shocked. And again, not only rugby, cricket also.
Yes.
Playing cricket. And they went for the zonal elimination. They qualified from the zone to play.
Yes.
When did you start inculcating cricket and rugby into the youth of the states?
We have some very talented coaches in those sports. So what we did was to start encouraging them to introduce the game. So it's been a few years now. In fact, from 2021, I remember we had an elaborate meeting with a rugby coach, even cricket. They're kind of even linked. The coaches, the coaching these athletes are kind of linked. So we've been able to look for avenues for them to train. The coaches, for a couple of times, have even been sent out on coaching courses. They've come back. And we have a good team. I mean, we have a good team. I think in the next sports festival, we'll go places. You've not talked about softball. Softball, too, we're doing extremely well. We have, in fact, our team this year won the nationals, and we're even supposed to represent Nigeria internationally.
Wow.
Most people don't hear about these stories, but in team sports, too, we're doing extremely well. But that goes to buttress what I said earlier, that Bayelsa wins gold medals across a gamut of sports, over 24 different sports. And rugby, cricket is one of them. You know, these are professional sports. And the opportunity for our young athletes to have scholarships abroad and even ultimately to become professionals and earn foreign exchange in the hundreds of thousands is out there, and we're doing all our best to ensure that we encourage them.
Okay, you are the president of the Nigerian Wrestling Federation, and let's talk about wrestling now. They went to Serbia, but to some Nigerians, they didn't do well in Serbia. So what do you have to say to that? The Serbia Championship.
What is your definition of doing well?
Well, my definition of doing well is for you to maybe win the championship or at least come second. That's my own definition of doing well.
Like how? Come second how?
At least you get to the final, maybe you lose in the finals.
Well, we went with six athletes, right? I like to put things in proper perspective. We're talking about Nigeria now. This year, in Nigeria, at least about 15 to 16 different sports have gone to world championships. Who has won a medal? Which sport in Nigeria has won a medal at the world championships this year? Wrestling. Wrestling was the only sport that won a bronze medal at the world championships in Serbia. Athletics went, nobody won a medal at the world championships. Judo, boxing, so many sports have gone. Not even, so many sports don't even get to the next round. Wow. In wrestling, we wrestled and won a bronze medal. Odunayo Adekunle won a bronze medal in Serbia. It is the only world level medal we have won out of every sport in Nigeria this year. So I would be expecting you to clap for wrestling. Just as we did at the Olympics. Wrestling was the only sport that won a silver medal. Athletics came with a bronze. Those were the only two medals we won at the Olympics. So if we want to talk about wrestling, we can't even compare wrestling to a lot of sports. In fact, I want to say wrestling is the king of sports in Nigeria.
Talking about wrestling being the king of sports in Nigeria, yes, so many persons have been saying, as the Commissioner for Youth and Sports in Bayelsa said, you are giving much credence to wrestling, and maybe some other sports are being relegated to the background, and only wrestling, you're pushing to the forefront of it. What do you have to say to that? Are you going to debunk what people are saying, that you're elevating wrestling and relegating other sports to the background?
Well, let us look at the statistics. From 2006 that I know, wrestling has been going to the National Sports Festival. And there is no National Sports Festival wrestling goes that they don't win 10 gold medals. Wow. Every National Sports Festival, wrestling wins 10 gold medals minimum. In Delta, in Edo, wrestling won 13 gold medals. In Asaba, wrestling won 13 gold medals. Wrestling is the only sport that Bayelsans alone, you have 14 Olympians in wrestling. 14 people from Bayelsa who have attended the Olympics from wrestling. Wrestling is the only sport in Bayelsa that has Commonwealth Games gold medalists. This year alone, from Bayelsa alone, wrestling has 3 African champions, senior. 3 senior African champions, 2 silver medalists in Africa, and 2 bronze medalists in Africa. 2 junior African champions, wrestlers. How can you compare wrestling to any other sport? So when somebody now says, oh, you are prioritizing wrestling above any other sport, now come with the statistics. Wrestling has gone to 1 national championships this year. 1. I can tell you I'm the Commissioner for Youth and Sport. Chess has gone to 4 this year. Chess has gone to 4. This argument came up, was it last year? And we said, okay, let us look at the amounts of money we have appropriated to other sports. Handball had the most money last year.
Wow.
So, sometimes people will look at the things you do, and because of maybe the notoriety of wrestling, and because I'm a wrestler or a former wrestler, people will say it's giving credence or a bit more priority to wrestling. And even if I were, it's not misplaced. Even if I were, it's not misplaced because that's your best sport. If we are going to go to the Olympics, because I've charged every sport, we are going to the Olympics next year. I want to see many sports qualify to go to the Olympics. I can assure you right now that wrestling will qualify. Now, how many other sports are going to say we will qualify to go to the Olympics? The last time we went to the Olympics, we had only wrestlers qualify from Bayelsa. And that is the narrative I'm trying to change. So let's not deflect from the conversation we should be having. The conversation is that everybody should be aspiring to be where wrestling is, so that the level of sports will really increase in Bayelsa.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, can you just give us some of the achievements of the Prosperity Administration in terms of sports? We know you've talked about the Bayelsa United, the Bayelsa Queens, you've talked about that, you talked about the National Sports Festival, you've talked about the National Youth Games. Aside this, how are sports impacted to the lives of the youth in the states?
I don't know if you went to Kaduna, because one of your journalists came to me and told me they went for, was it a retreat or something in Kaduna? And they came to them and told them Bayelsa should pick their rooms first, because Bayelsa is a serious sporting state. This is journalists. And this is what is happening everywhere. Because, sports is so public. It's such a public endeavor that whatever you do, everybody will see what you are doing. So I've given you snippets of what we have done as an administration. We are now number 2 in the country as a sporting state, by virtue of coming second at the National Sports Festival. We are the current ITO Cup champions in female football. We have won the ITO Cup, both men and women, unprecedented. In athletics, we have Tima Gobless, who is the national champion, who has gotten a scholarship to go to the United States to study. We have Deborah Quickpen in chess. She's 12, 13 now. She's now a national champion, not age grade anymore. National, so including seniors, she's a national champion. Just at that last week. There is no sport we can mention where Nigeria and Bayelsa are not national champions. You talk about judo, you talk about karate, you talk about weightlifting, every sport, swimming. So, but this is not what Bayelsa is known for. It's because of the mindset of His Excellency Senator Doyediri, who came with a clear vision to transform sports in Bayelsa. And he didn't just come to give marching orders, he came and backed it up with funding. He didn't only back it up with funding, he chose the right people to run sports. He has a director of sports that is very well grounded. He chose me as Commissioner for Youth and Sports. And then, probably the icing on the cake, which a lot of people would not know or acknowledge, is our supervisor, His Excellency Senator Lawrence Erijakpo. I can tell you, everybody would want to have Senator Lawrence Erijakpo, the Deputy Governor, as their supervisor. I've never seen someone who is that meticulous, someone who is in the trenches with you, who plans, who knows the names of all the footballers, he knows the names of most of your athletes. I've never seen someone that glued in to preparations for a team. And that is why you see the performances we're having. A lot of times people have said Tinubu has a knack for picking the right people. At the state level, I'll tell you, Doyediri is probably the Tinubu of the governors, because he picks the right people to get the job done, and he doesn't just pick them, but he picks them and he supports them to the tails. And that is why you see sports where it is. If we're second today in the country, who can guess what will happen next time at the National Sports Festival?
All right, we still have the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development with us in the studio, talking about Honorable Baralade Daniel Egali, and has been shedding more light on the achievement of the Prosperity Administration on sports in the states. But we are going on a very short break. When we return, we still have the Commissioner for Youth and Sports here with us to shed more lights on the topic we are discussing this afternoon. We're going on a very short break. Please go nowhere. Stay.
Not be mistake. Don't you fool the governor, not be mistake. Don't you believe fool the governor, not be mistake. Are you back at over now? Jehovah get over, I say. Nana way get over now. Don't you believe fool the governor, not be mistake. Don't you believe fool the governor, not be mistake. Don't you believe fool the governor, not be mistake. Are you back at over now? Jehovah get over now. Are you back at over now? Are you back at over now? Jehovah get over, I say. Nana way get over now. Don't you believe who I get over, not be mistake. Doye diri fún ẹni tó.
Online. Anywhere in the world. All right, you welcome back to Prosperity Hour on Track News Media. We have with us the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, talking about the Olympic champion, Banalade Daniel Igali, who doubles as the Abadi Pere one of Eneware Kingdom. Yes, the High Police Chief is still with us here in the studio. Yes, we've been talking about the achievement of the Prosperity Administration in the past 3 years on sports, and we are going to talk about other things that this Prosperity Administration has achieved in the past 3 years. But we'll still have with us in the studios the Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, Baralade Daniel Igali. Yes, now, let's talk about the Aswama project. Some persons are saying this Aswama project, a lot of money has been sunk into that project, but they are not getting the desired results. What do you have to say to the Aswama project?
How much has been sunk in?
Well, that we don't know. But the last time they talked about it, they said about 6 billion has gone into the Aswama projects. I don't know how true is that, but
well,
you are here to clarify.
I'm the Commissioner for Youth and Sports, and I can tell you that that's not true. We have not sunk in 6 billion to the Aswama project. Let me be upfront with you. I am not very pleased with where Aswama is, based on our overall intentions for Aswama. That said, Bayelsa State is the only state in the country that has a facility in the mold of Aswama, as we speak. So that is kudos to an administration that has foresight, that has good intentions for the state. Now, this year, we are going to be graduating our first set of Aswama students. They will be writing their WAEC this year, which means we've had them for 6 years now in Aswama. So the first set of athletes who came in around the ages of 11, 12 are now 17, 18. The ultimate goal for setting up Aswama is to ensure that our athletes have a good combination of education and sports. And that, to a good extent, is being achieved. The other thing we want to do is to be able to use Aswama to produce credible coaches, secretaries, and even scouts, sports scouts. That is what we want, and that's in the next phase of the development of Aswama.
Okay.
So Aswama is by no means a failure. Aswama has lived up to the goals intended for Aswama, but in terms of facilities, there is still some work to be done. And I know that the moment we're back for the second term, that will be a priority of the administration of His Excellency Senator Doidiri.
Now, I know some time ago that you went to Aswama and you donated kits.
Wrestling kits, yeah.
Wrestling kits to the students of Aswama. Why only wrestling? Why not other sports? Because I was there, I saw it, what you donated to them, wrestling kits.
I am a wrestler. I should give back to my sport. And of course, as a wrestler, I have a lot of contacts around the world. And I had someone who was prepared to give me double of what I would buy. So if I was buying something for $2,000, they would give me an extra $2,000. And so I decided I should do enough to be able to donate to Aswama. You know, we always talk about giving back to your sport, giving back to your secondary school, giving back to your high school. And then Daniel Igali now gives back to wrestling, and you are saying, why didn't you give to everybody else?
Okay, now you shed light on the achievement of this Prosperity Administration on sports. Now, in future,
yes,
what are the plans of this administration? Peradventure, they are back for second term. What are the plans for the future in sports? Bayelsa State.
This is what I expect you to say. What are the plans of this administration when you are back? We will definitely be back. It's only a blind man that cannot see what His Excellency Senator Doyedire has done. It's only someone who does not mean well for continuity that would want to disrupt what we have now. In fact, I bear no apologies in saying this, but if we get into these elections and other parties score more than 30%, I'd be pretty surprised. Based on what I see in the state, based on the kind of work that His Excellency Senator Doyedire has done, based on the peace and security in this state, this is a state we all grew up in. In fact, I was driving to my village, to Inoware. I was going to get a boat from Angama at about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, because I wanted to surprise somebody at their wake keep. And I passed through Swale at 8 o'clock in the evening. And women were walking around with their purses, with their phones. You could visibly see them in Swale at 8 p.m. For that alone, we should not even have a conversation about His Excellency coming back for second tenure. That said, the big ticket item we have when we return would be the construction of a 30,000-seater stadium. We're already in talks with a North China construction company. We have the designs. We're working with the Surveyor General's office now to ensure that we have the site plan for it so they can fit everything in. In fact, I think that will be one of the first things that will happen in the life of the next administration. Because Bayelsa does deserve a befitting stadium. Not just the stadium and its playing surfaces, but accompanying sporting facilities and infrastructure. Because as you know, for you to thrive and do well in sports, you need the coaches, you need the referees. First, because your athletes are as good as what is imparted to them. Then, you need the funding, you need the facilities. And that Bayelsa is doing what we are doing now with the number of facilities we have means that when we get our stadium and we get the kind of facilities we want embedded in that stadium, I don't see any state that will even come close to Bayelsa. Because right now, we're operating with probably a quarter of the facilities, and we're number 2nd in the country. So that is going to be the first ticket item, the big ticket item that we're going to have. It's a legacy project for His Excellency. The second would be the Aswama project that you've already touched on. We want the coaching certification part of that to be embedded in Aswama. And then also we need a few more facilities. Of course, the football facilities, the swimming pools, a lot of those are still not in operation yet, have not been properly set up. And those are going to be some of the priorities that we are actually looking at when we get back. We're also looking at a few other stadia that we must get in place. In fact, in Yenagoa, we feel that we should have about 6 playing turfs, fields where people can go and play football and watch football and have tartan tracks around where they can do physical exercises, walk, run. Because it's not just about the athletes who will compete, the high-performance athletes. It's also about recreation. So Priya Yabrifa should be able to come with his wife early in the morning to go walk 10 laps around the pitch. That is about 2.5 kilometers, and then go home and get ready to come to work. Just as His Excellency has been leading the prosperity walk every Thursday, walking 5 kilometers. That is what we want to do around different sections of the metropolis of Yenagoa, so people can go and exercise. But that will also serve dual purposes, because you will still have the elite athletes using the pitches and the ordinary citizens also using it as recreation. So we need about 5 pitches. Then we have the Biogbolo mini stadium. It is probably about 30-35% complete. There is also a playing surface, and it has a capacity to seat, I think, about 2,000 people there. So that is another stadium that we want to complete. Give it a year or two, we want that done, so that when we have matches in Yenagoa, we don't only have to rely on the pitch we have currently at the Samson Siasia Stadium. Some matches can be played there. In fact, some days we could have both of our own teams playing here. And in fact, you also know that there are some lower leagues that we are now developing in Yenagoa, who are playing at the national level, who sometimes often clash with our premier teams. They can also use those pitches. That is the other one. Then we're also looking at the completion of the swimming pool at Aswama. I already mentioned Aswama. We're also building 2 basketball courts in St. Jude's and one at Bishop Demary Grammar School. We intend to finish those as quickly as possible next year, because, as you know, basketball is not one of those sports I touched on, but St. Jude's is probably the most accomplished secondary school in basketball. They've won the Milo Cup so many times we can't
without
even,
a basketball court.
We can't even count anymore. No. We do have a basketball court. We have a couple of basketball courts, but we want one within their their vicinity, so that they can be practicing anytime they want without coming to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Okay. Of course, the coach is from us, so that is a better place for them to be groomed. We have the indoor sports hall where they can also train. But if they have a facility within their vicinity, it gives them an opportunity where, whether the coach is there or not, to just go and shoot balls at any time. It can be in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And the same thing with Bishop Demary Grammar School. We're also looking to complete the only standalone wrestling gymnasium in the country. It's at the Samson Siasia Stadium. It's about 40-45% complete now. And next year and going forward, our goal is to complete that project so that we can have a lot more athletes using it. What we have now at the wrestling facility we have now is in the multipurpose hall. So many other sports are using it. So what we want is a standalone wrestling facility that has a capacity to accommodate 2 mats. And that is our goal for next year, for us to finish it. Another good news is, as an international federation member, I am trying to bring African female wrestling to be domiciled in Yenagoa, so that all African top female athletes will come and train in Yenagoa. And if we have that facility with 2 mats, it will give us even a better opportunity to be able to get that to Yenagoa. What we have now is 1 mat. So if athletes will come, we can only accommodate, I think, 12 athletes. But I have given them the assurances that once we finish that, we can bring in about 30 athletes to come and be domiciled in Yenagoa to train. We're talking from the African continent.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, let me ask you this question. What are some of the projects you think this administration has done that is life transforming?
If you just want to mention one, it's the linkage of all the roads to virtually everywhere in the state. The 3 senatorial roads that are going, can you imagine that I'm telling you now that it takes me 15 minutes from Angema to Inoare? I used to go from Yenagoa to Inoare. It was taking me close to 1 hour by boat. And next year, His Excellency has promised that he's taking a route from Angema to Inoare, so I'll be driving. Maybe I'll be coming to work from Inoare. You know, when you tell these things to some older people, they just sit down and wonder if what they are hearing is true. Because they never, ever expected that in their lifetime, a road will get to them. These are people who are telling them they were in their 20s when they saw a car. Because what do you expect somebody from January to see? What are they doing with a car? But we are going to have 6-month-old babies seeing cars driving in their village. So if there is one thing you want to talk about, aside the 101 things that His Excellency has done, it is the fact that roads are getting to everywhere. Roads are getting to places that were otherwise thought economically not viable. Brass. It has someone with big, as they would say in Canada, big kahunas. That is someone with a mindset to do the impossible, to do that. It doesn't matter how much it costs. If we can get roads everywhere, we have opened up Bayelsa State, and that is what His Excellency is doing. So if we are going to talk about one thing, because that is what brings development. If we're going to talk about one thing, it is the fact that virtually everywhere now is being touched by roads. If it is not now, in the next 1-2 years, we're going to get it everywhere. In Southern Nigeria now, it's just constituency 3 and 4 that is left. And from the assurances we have of him, maybe in another 12 months, roads will get to everywhere in Southern Nigeria. So I really want to use this opportunity to appreciate His Excellency Senator Doyediri for taking the bull by the horns. People sometimes want to do some things and you will sit down and you will wonder, say, how are they going to do that? In a place like Canada, from Vancouver to Victoria, because of the bridges, they don't do roads. There are no roads. You go by a ferry, a 2-hour ferry. His Excellency is doing roads to places where even countries like Canada have said, no, we will not even bother. We'll just be using the canoes and the ferries and the ships. That is somebody with balls. And you see him, he's so quiet, he doesn't talk. You underrate him, but he has quietly achieved. And I am not the only one saying it. You go to the streets of Yenagoa, 8 out of 10 people will tell you, why are we even doing elections? Because they've also seen it. They also support what we think we've seen, because we work at close proximity with him. So if I am talking, it's like, okay, what else are you going to say? That's what we expect you to say. But I'm saying this without any bias. That at this time, in the history of Bayelsa, the best we have is His Excellency Senator Doyediri, and he has done enough, more than enough, to come back. In fact, if we are people who are forthright, who want to do the right thing, we should not even be talking about elections. Of course, it's a democracy, so we can go into the elections, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal.
Okay, as far as His Excellency, as far as the Honorable Commissioner is concerned, it's a done deal for His Excellency Governor Doyediri to come back for our second term. Yes, we have been looking at the achievement of the Prosperity Administration in the last 3 years and 8 months. And Honorable Commissioner, before we leave the studio, because our time is almost up, before we leave the studios, can you please tell us your last word before we take a bow out of the studio?
I want to, on behalf of the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, thank His Excellency Senator Doyediri for the opportunity given to me to serve as Commissioner for Youth and Sports. In fact, I tell everybody, it's not a job, it's a hobby. I mean, when you are working with someone who makes the job so easy for you, you sometimes even forget that it's a job anymore. You are doing what you love. And His Excellency has transformed what otherwise should have been a job to a hobby for me. So I want to thank him for that. And I want to speak directly to the Bayelsa youth. I want to speak directly to the elders of Bayelsa. You have all seen the transformation that has taken place by a very simple, modest governor, His Excellency Senator Doyediri. Not just in the area of education, not just in the area of road construction, not just in the area of trade and investment. Did I even tell you that His Excellency has been giving out about 200 million naira every month to set up people with small-scale businesses, medium and small-scale businesses. That is someone with foresight. We are going to be going into elections in the next couple of weeks. Please, let us all remember what has happened in the last 3.5 years and go out and give the support that is necessary to ensure that we have the continuity so that roads can get to virtually everywhere in Bayelsa State. Please go and put your thumbprints for the PDP, because you know that is where continuity is, that is where prosperity is, and that is the future of you and your children.
Okay, before I finally let you go, you are the Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development. Any message to the youth concerning the November 11 election?
I told the youths, I just spoke to the youths, I spoke to the elders, I spoke to young men and women, that this is the ship we're on. It is a good ship. There is no water that has gotten into it. No matter how rowdy the storms have been, we have held steady because we have a commander-in-chief who has been able to handle us very well. And we have no need whatsoever to even have a contest in the form of elections. We should all go support him and ensure that he comes back for the next 4 years so that he can continue on the path of development. Prosperity is assured with Doyediri if we collectively bring him back to serve out his next 4 years.
Okay, you've heard it from the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Sports Development, talking about Honorable Baralade Daniel Igali, who is also the Abadi Pere One of Ineware Kingdom. For the past close to 1 hour, we have been talking about the achievement of the Prosperity Administration in the last 3.5 years. Well, for the Prosperity Hour, we will come your way again next time. And for the Commissioner, thank you for coming to the studio.
Thank you very much.
I hope next time we call you, you avail yourself for us again.
Oh, anytime. As long as it is about Doyediri, I am there.
All right, thank you very much. As long as it's about Doyediri, he is ready to come and talk with us. My name is Priye Yabrifa. Don't forget, November 11 is just by the corner. Go out there and vote for the candidate you feel that will take Bayelsa to the next level. Bye for now.